We are talking today with Jennifer Fawcett. Hi, Jennifer.
Hello.
Jennifer, you are the author of the latest book called Keep This For Me,
Yes,
right? And this is your second book, I
this is
believe.
my second book. Yes.
Okay. Um, in a few words, what's this storyline on the
I'm
latest book?
I'm really bad at keeping it to a few words, but I'll do my best. Keep This For Me is the story of a woman whose mother was, when she was a child, was when the protagonist was a child, her mother was abducted by a serial killer, killed. However, as an adult, so 30 years later, she learns through a deathbed confession that he didn't actually kill her. So the question is, well, what happened? So she goes back to the location where this happened. And while she's there, another young woman is abducted. It seems like maybe a copycat crime. And as she's trying to find out what happened to her mother, she starts getting more and more embroiled in what might be a new killer afoot, and they're plotting.
I'm intrigued by the setting of the story. Tell
Mm.
us about the town and especially about the lake.
Yes. So the book is set in a fictional town that I always put my things in a fictional town, but that's sort of pulling a lot from real places. So it's set on the southern shore of Lake Ontario, in New York State. So it's this part of New York State is called the North Country. So and it's a little town called St. Rose. And it's one of those little towns that in the summer, the population kind of quadruples with all of the people there going to their cottages and playing on the lake and all that sort of thing. But in the rest of the year, it becomes kind of cold and barren. And the story is set largely in November, so the lake is not as friendly as it
Mm.
is in the summer. It's much, it's more gray, and the waves are cold and they kind of crash on the shore. The lake plays a really important part um, in the book. I mean, it's a setting, obviously, but I sort of see it as a character.
Right.
It has
Right.
its own moods, as large bodies of water do. Um, that's where the story begins with the lake, and it also ends with the lake. And yeah, so the lake is really, really essential to the world that we're in.
And tell us a little bit about Fiona. What is she like, and what are her challenges, or what's she after?
So Fiona she's in her early 30s, and she and her father um, have grown up just, together without her mother. She doesn't know her mother. Her mother was abducted and she believed killed when she was only 2.5 years old. So she doesn't have any memories of her. She's this absence in her life. And I think that's been really a major part of who Fiona is, and that she feels like she's missed out. Like she's growing up and never had that mother figure. And now Fiona has just become a mother herself. So she has a young child herself, and is really struggling with uh, postpartum uh, postpartum neurosis, actually. But all the complex um, mental health issues that can come after a baby is born. She's really struggling with that, and I think she feels that part of that might be because she never had a mother herself. She didn't have any kind of a model. Um, she wants to be everything that her mother wasn't for her to this young child, and yet she finds herself failing. And that's something that she's really grappling with. How could I be somebody who I want to be a mother? I chose to have this child, and yet I'm struggling to be a mother. And so that's also, as she is trying to rectify what happened to her own mother, she's also trying to learn how to be a mother herself. So
But then, 30 years after her mom vanishes, she's pulled into something.
yeah, so she's growing up with this absence, and also her mother has kind of been reduced to victim, as I think often happens.
Yes.
That the rest of the person that she was sort of disappears, and her mother, whose name is Anna, is just a victim. You know, she was the last victim of this serial killer. And I think that does something to her daughter, that her mother is also, she doesn't really know her, right? She couldn't know her because she died when she was so little. So she doesn't have any memories. But it also feels, I think, for her that anytime that, like, she doesn't have an, she doesn't know the fullness of the person of who she was. And so part of her, you know, when she finds out that her mother didn't actually die, obviously that's jarring news because she never came back. So what on earth happened? Right. So there's a mystery there. But in trying to solve that mystery, she actually starts to learn more about the woman that her mother was. And I think that is honestly how she is able to start healing. I mean, nothing's going to bring her mother back, but how do you move past that? It's something that I was very interested in when I was writing the book. Was you have an act of violence, a random act of violence. Her mother is abducted and killed when her Fiona's parents are out. They've gone to a party. They've left Fiona with the grandparents, and it's like their first night out, you know, as young parents, and their car breaks down on the side of the road. And this is loosely based on a true story. So the car breaks down on the side of the road. We are before the age of cell phones, and they flag down a transport truck to help get them to a payphone so they can get some help, right? It's, you know, what you would do. And unfortunately, that trucker, the person who they flagged down, happens to be a serial killer, and, you know, so on and so on. So it's this random event, right? Like if they had left 5 minutes later or 5 minutes earlier, or if all these what ifs, right? How do you after the fact, right? When there's all this grief, how do you grapple with the randomness of how someone was taken from your life? And so I think that just the sheer unfairness of it, really is part of what Fiona is grappling with as well, right? Like, you know, she wonders at certain points, like, did she do something? Like, why did this happen and left me with this hole in who I am? And again, now I'm trying to become a mother myself, and I'm struggling with it, and maybe it's because of that. And so she's trying to unpack all of that. So I think that as she starts to learn more about her mother, she is able to have a little bit more to hold on to than just that label victim. She starts to learn about the wholeness of the person who is gone.
So would you characterize this as a family drama or a thriller or?
I mean, that's interesting. No one's ever asked me that before. Family is a really major part of this book.
Yes, yes,
and there's more than one family. There's the family of Fiona and Anna, her mother. So there's the victim's family, but I also spend a lot of time looking at the perpetrator's family, the murderer's family. Yeah. So the serial killer has a son, and just as Fiona has always grown up with this stamp of victim, well, the son, who is 11 years old when his father is caught and he's tried 2 years later and goes to prison. Well, the son grows up with the word monster stamped on him. And he also is really grappling. Both of them are grappling with this legacy that has been passed down to them that neither of them asked for, right? You know, and trying to understand, well, who am I? Who am I with what has gone before me, right? And again, with this like random violence. So the son still lives in the same area as where the last victim, where Anna was when she was caught.
What inspired you to write about violence?
Well, I mean, I'm like a lot of people, you know, there's a attraction to a curiosity, I guess, about about violence, right? The whole, like, you drive past the
Right.
accident you want to see, and I don't know, what is it about people that were interested in that? But what I find myself coming back to over and over again in the things that I write is there's the event itself, but I'm actually really interested in the ripple effect afterwards. These
Yes.
long,
Yes.
sometimes, I mean, days, months, years afterward, how
Mhm.
people are still kind of grappling with this event, this horrible event.
That's
And to me, that's really fascinating. And I mean, there's so much violence in the world. So
yes,
there are,
yes.
unfortunately, so many people who in real life are trying to understand how this
What?
came into their lives. Who are they now? Um, I am interested in, you know, the families of the perpetrators, right? Like, how
Hmm.
do they, because sometimes I think they get stamped with the same, you know,
Yes. Yes.
and that may or may not be fair.
Right.
But that's also, like, they also sometimes are victims, but then, you know, yeah. So I just find it really fascinating, and I think I really write as a way of sort of exploring human behavior.
Yes, and you do that very well.
Thank
And
you.
let's talk about that process, that writing process. You write from multiple viewpoints.
I do.
Was that difficult? And also you weave together the past and the present beautifully.
Thank you.
How do you do that?
I think it's just how I tend to think of stories. Because my first book also did the same thing. I had multiple viewpoints and I had different timelines. To me, time is layered.
Mm.
You know, no space is neutral, right? Like when we're in a place, there were people who came there before, and then
Yes.
before, and then before. And I feel like in some ways, those different timelines act as layers in a place. And they can make a setting very powerful for people, right? I mean, if something really horrendous has
Yes.
happened there, or if something really wonderful has happened there, you know. And keep this for me, one of the family cottage, right? This ramshackle patched together thing that has been loved for a couple of generations, and used to be this place where the whole family would gather. And so it was always a place that was filled with noise, kids, summer, all right on, right on the shore of the lake.
The summer people, you
The
call
summer
them.
people, like, yeah. But Fiona goes back there in November when she's all alone. And so it's almost like it's haunted in a way, right? Because it's this space that she's used to being filled with family, filled with people, and yet it's empty because it's, late November, and that's not usually a time when you want to hang out on Lake Ontario. Um,
Yeah.
and so it's a very emotionally loaded space. So she's there in the present, but she's also sort of remembering the past while she's there. I don't know. I grew up in the country, and in Eastern Ontario, and there were always old buildings around,
Yes.
and I just was,
Fascinating.
yeah, I was so drawn to them. I was always
Yes.
just curious about these. I mean, these are like falling down old places, right? Like I probably should not have been wandering around in as a 10-year-old. But I was just so intrigued because I always felt like people used to come here and do things here, that there are stories here. And
Yeah.
so I think that's why when I write with these layers of time, because I
Mm.
feel that the past informs the present.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
very good. Yeah. And you're also an award-winning playwright and a co-founder of the
Working
theatrical
group, yeah,
theater
theater company, yeah.
activity called the Working Group.
Yeah.
What prompted you to switch to novel writing, or have you
Well,
switched?
oh, I have, yeah, no, it's been I still consider myself a playwright, but I haven't actually written a new play in a very long time. So, um, and I'm really enjoying writing novels. Um,
What difference do you see in the two formats?
well, I mean, it's really, in some ways, you kind of, if you go to like the bare bones level, you're dealing with all, I mean, it's still storytelling.
Same thing.
Yeah, but you have some different tools. And so that's really fun to kind of play with. Like, when you're writing a play, that those characters are going to become flesh and blood. Like they are going to be actors, are going to play those roles, and they're going to walk around and talk to each other. And so people are going to see the characters fully realized. But you can't go inside their heads.
Right.
Right. You
Right.
have what they say and you have what they
Mhm.
do. And you of course have subtext and body language and all
Mhm.
those things. In a book, people are only going to see the characters in their minds.
Yes.
So obviously you have to like add in a lot more about where they are and what they look like and all that sort of thing. But then the fun part is you get to play with interiority, and you get to have this point of view of this person and the point of view of that person, and opinions and memories, flashback, all that sort of thing. So because in our
Has
heads
it?
we go all over the place.
That's right, right. Do you find any challenges in the length of a novel versus usually the
I was very
90s?
intimidated by it when I first started. I was definitely very intimidated, and in fact, you had asked what the transition was, and it was actually it was sort of unintentional at first. I was a friend introduced me to NaNoWriMo. I don't know if you know NaNoWriMo. So that's
Yes.
national, for anyone who doesn't know, that's National Novel Writing Month, and it really should be international. And it's the month of November. The challenge is to try and write 50,000 words. And um, I she challenged me to it at a point when I didn't have a child and I didn't have a job at the time, so I had the time. I had no excuse, and that 50,000 words seemed incredibly intimidating because a play is fewer words
Right.
by a lot. But I thought, you break it down so it works out to something like, I don't know the math. I should do the math. It's like 1,633 words a day or something like that, which is actually a manageable amount. And so it was just sort of, and it was a process of accumulation, because the whole point of it is that you just try and hit your word count each day. You don't try and edit it. Don't worry about making it good. Just get it out. And it was that process of, seeing the accumulation of words. And, I got to the end of the month and I think I actually had 60,000. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, maybe a novel is within reach. And so that
Ah,
was sort of
goodness.
that was the thing that tipped me over into it. And then of course I was really enjoying all of these new tools that I was getting to play with, right? Like interiority and multiple settings and all that sort of thing.
How did you find your agent? And yeah, originally in your first book, what?
My agent, actually, I found her because I knew I had done some theater with a woman, and her boyfriend was one of the only writers I knew who had an agent. And so I started looking at his agent and started looking at what she represented, what she looked for. And I was like, oh, she sounds really up my alley. Like she sounds like she represents the sort of work that I want to do. And so I queried her, and she asked to read the work, which was great. And then she read it and she said, no, but. And so she said, if you revise this, and I think she gave some feedback, I would take
Mm,
another look at it. And I took her up on that, which is something that I think is really like important for people to do. That if you get rejected, but if you get the invitation to resubmit or to submit something different, do it.
do it.
So I did.
Okay.
And so I took the feedback and I did a big revision and I resubmitted it. And she said, okay, let's work together. And she's still my agent. Yeah,
Wonderful.
we've been together for a while now. She stuck with me. She's been great. Yeah.
And did it take her a long time to sell
It
the book,
did.
Simon and Schuster?
It did. I went through many rounds of rejections, and this is what I mean when I say she stuck with me. Yeah, it's funny. Like, I feel like everybody has a different story of their
Mm.
path to publication, right? So for some, finding the agent is the really long thing, and then the next week their book's at auction, right? Like, I was the opposite. I actually, relatively speaking, finding the agent was not that hard, but finding a home for the book was very hard. So I did more revision, and then she went and she submitted it, and we got rejections, but they were very positive rejections, which do exist.
Mhm.
Like, people saying, and I read them all. I asked to have them sent to me, glutton for punishment, but they were
Right.
really, actually, once I got over like the emotional hit of it, there was a lot of really great information in those rejections.
Mhm, mhm.
So I took the feedback, because that's
Mhm,
pretty great feedback. I mean,
absolutely.
these are professional editors, they understand the
Yes.
market, and they're reading, they're reading not wanting to reject it, right? Like, I think when
Mhm.
editors are reading something, if they're putting the time in, I mean, I now have a better understanding of just the size of the workload that these people have. So when they are
Right.
reading something, they want to like it. They
Yes.
want to acquire it. And so they're coming at it with all of that, but then, for one reason or another, finding why it doesn't fit. So it was several rounds of that and lots of really major revisions. So there were several, I mean, I can say it now in a short period of time, but that actually represents several years before we
Are you
found.
working on something else
I
now?
am. Yeah, I'm working on a third book, so
And
fingers crossed.
will it already have a home or
No, not yet, not yet. I
no?
mean, the
Yeah.
way that the contract works is, the publisher has the first right of refusal,
Yes.
and you can submit. They will look at it, 5 chapters and an outline, and they
Mm-hmm.
have a certain period of time to look at that. So for Keep This For Me, I mean, I had the same deal with my first book. So when Keep This For Me, when I had 5 chapters and an outline, I took it to the publisher first, and they looked at it and they made an offer, and so then we went from there. So
That's
it'll be the same for the
awesome.
third, and if they choose to pass, then we can go wide with it. But most likely, then I will need to write the full book before we do
Right.
submitting it.
Right. What
So
lessons do you have for writers who are trying to break into the tough market?
keep going.
Keep
Yeah, I mean,
going.
it's the hardest thing, but it's the only thing, right? Like,
Yes.
I got as many writers I know, I got a lot of no's,
Hmm.
and and you know, it's and they were hard. Everyone hurt. Every no was, I mean, it's your baby, right? You wrote this thing, you spent
Right.
all this
Right.
time, and then
Right.
somebody says, no. But I think, I did believe in what I was doing. And I kept trying to make it better. I kept trying, I mean, I took the feedback, I kept trying to make it better. I'm very lucky that I had my agent who also believed in what I was doing. And I kept trying, and,
You made it work.
made
You
it
made it
made it
work.
work. But I mean, the whole idea of keep going, I mean, it still applies, right? Like, I
Right.
feel like when you talk to authors who've been in this industry for a long time, there's just so many ups and downs, and
Yes.
some books do really well and some books don't. And sometimes
Mhm.
it doesn't seem like there's a really good reason for that. And
Right.
sometimes you write a book and you love it and no one wants it and you have to put it away and start over again. And that really is hard. But I mean, through it all, if you have to kind of keep going.
You've survived,
Yeah, this
Jennifer,
far.
and you and you've written a lovely book.
Thank
Keep
you.
This For Me
Keep
by
this for me.
Jennifer Fawcett. Jennifer, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's nice to talk to you.